Ladies and gentlemen, the show starts in 3, 2, 1. Tonight on the DDM Comics radio program. The latest news from the comic book industry, pull list reviews, and our picks from the long box. Don't forget our main feature. It is sure to have you huddle around your radio set all night. Stay tuned.
We are the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter.
I'm sorry, this is the fun beak, the humdrum beast back there. Please, no gang signs. No, throw it up, I'm kidding.
Told you that. Look, kid, you and I are gonna be good friends. You just don't know it yet.
Hello and welcome, comic fans of all ages, waistlines, and various parental-controlled habitats, to the second episode of the DDM Comics podcast. My name is Danny from the hot, northern, swamp-ass-inducing regions of Northern California, and with me, as always, the curator of genetic research, the man behind the greatest attractions ever created, the only person that I want driving my getaway vehicle while being chased by a T-Rex from deep in the tropical jungle where life finds a way, Mr. Spare No Expense D. How are things going on the old island today?
Oh, that's funny. More Jeep and Jurassic Park jokes. That's like...
Well, I saw the picture of the Jeep, and it's like all I could think of. That's
like, Mr. D, we got Mr. D here. See, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Don't get cheap on me. So today on the... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say things are good. Been looking forward to doing the show for since we recorded the last show, so...
Well, yeah, we've been prepping for ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're both a little sick of the Punisher right now.
Definitely, but looking forward to talking about him since we spent all that time reading about him.
Yeah, totally. So today on the show, like we just said, we'll be talking about some news, and then we'll be taking a deep dive into the Punisher. I think we're calling it a character spotlight, followed by some picks from the long box. Did you pick your book?
I did.
Oh, cool. So did I. It's kind of cool, and I'm looking forward to talking about it. Not many people do. All right. So if there's anything else?
Nope, I think we're good.
Cool. Let's get started with some news then.
Now it is time for the news. Brought to you by...
Do you dream of being dominated? Love being called a loser and told how bad you are? Are you a man with fantasies of being torn down by a skillful hand and mind? Well, look no further, stud. Punishment Domination Services masters and mistresses are here to help you feel awful.
Oh, wow.
Get destroyed in Settlers of Catan. Checkmated in chess. Face a never-moving back row in checkers. Get dominoed and unoed harder than you ever have in your life. Or just schedule an appointment to flip a table after 3 hours of Monopoly. Make an appointment today, because you're terrible, and we know it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Of course, that beautiful ballad brought to you by a longtime friend of the show, Deborah, and her sojourn to Dallas long ago. All right, then. Let's talk about some news. Suicide Squad, what's up with that?
I don't know. I saw something yesterday about some big news being announced on Twitter. The director or something wrote something in Morse code.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turned out to be a poster, I think. I shared a new poster on our Facebook page this morning, but I'm not sure if that's what they were talking about when they sent out that cryptic tweet.
Well, there was in the comments, they were like, oh, it's because the band 21 Pilots, I don't know if you know who they are.
I do, yeah. Abby likes them.
Apparently they have a song on the soundtrack, and they're making a music video for it, and that's what people were thinking it was.
Oh,
but
okay.
Specifically, I think we wanted to address it getting an official PG-13 rating.
Oh, right.
I think,
I think that surprised a lot of people because with all the hype and the stories that have broken prior to the rating coming out, it sounded like they were trying to go like the Kick-Ass, Sin City, Punisher direction with the R rating, trying to capture that more adult, or even the Deadpool. Really,
oh yeah,
the Deadpool.
coming off the back of Deadpool was the most surprising. It's like, okay, how are you going to compete with that without an R rating? I mean, the Suicide Squad is a bunch of nasty badasses. There's plenty of space there to have R-rated content.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it only seemed logical that they would push that as far as they could to where it would force the MPAA to give them an R rating. But it seems like they must have pulled out earlier. Something. They fell short.
Yeah, they were probably planning on it the whole time because, I mean, they had to film all of this before Deadpool, I'm assuming.
Right.
So they were probably, like, blindsided by it. They're like, oh, shit.
Well, they ordered a bunch of expensive reshoots, I heard.
Oh, okay.
Maybe about, I don't know the legitimacy of it, but I saw it on a couple of comic book pages on Facebook a few weeks ago that they'd ordered a bunch of reshoots, and I assumed those reshoots were going to get them that R rating.
Maybe they'll, like, did you hear that with Batman vs. Superman, they're doing a director's cut or whatever that they're releasing that's supposed to make the film okay for fans? Did you ever see that?
I didn't see Batman vs. Superman. I'm interested because I've heard Affleck's Batman is not too bad, actually, so...
He was awesome. I loved him.
Okay. Yeah, you're not the first person to say that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't like, who was Christian Bale? I didn't like his Batman at all.
I liked his Batman, but I didn't like his Bruce Wayne. That makes sense.
I got it. I don't. His voice, like whenever he would do like the throaty crap, I just couldn't understand it, and it just seemed so over the top.
He's like, I'm not wearing hockey pants.
Right? He's like, oh god, my balls are sweating in here. Dude, just relax. What do you think about Will Smith being in the Suicide Squad movie? It seems a bit weird that the Fresh Prince would be on board with something like this.
Yeah, you know, I feel like there are several other male black actors of similar stature and definitely at least similar acting ability that they could have selected.
Who would you pick? Like a Denzel or like a Terry Crews?
No, that's you know
he
what?
Just busts in there like the Kool-Aid Man putting on deodorant.
No, not Terry Crews. I mean, he's a good actor, but he's a little too like yoked up and oily for that role. I actually like the guy who plays the Falcon, which means he could probably not be in that role, but if he wasn't the Falcon, that would be a pretty good choice.
I don't know. He feels just as soft as Will Smith.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Denzel definitely could do it, I think. I mean, he's older than Will Smith. But he's pretty versatile. He can play a lot of different kind of guys. He definitely plays a badass well.
What's that character's name? Deadshot or something, right?
Yeah, it's Deadshot. Yeah. And I'm not super familiar with that character.
I'm not either.
I read the first 3 issues of Suicide Squad when it first came out, and then, to be honest, I didn't really look at it again. I remember it being good, but I didn't reference it again. Sure, we'll do. I'm sure we'll talk about it later, especially if the movie comes out.
So, PG-13 instead of R. Now, PG-13 still means that they have. I mean, they can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, cussing.
Like, I remember the first PG-13 ever that had boobs in it, like, was Titanic. Right? I was like, oh my god.
That's true.
It's like, draw me like one of your French girls. It was like, oh my sweet. But of course, I was like, I had it on like the double VHS.
Yeah, that was sick back then.
All right. I don't think there's really much else to say about that. We're probably not going to see any boobs. Just a bunch of, I don't know, who's the actress that plays Harley Quinn or whatever?
I don't have a clue.
She was actually in The Wolf of Wall Street. She played DiCaprio's woman or whatever. Or at least somebody he was banging in there.
See, I have no idea how the Suicide Squad will be because I haven't watched the trailer or anything, but I really picture it like Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. That's how I want to see the Suicide Squad, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be like that.
Oh, it won't be.
It's going to be like balls to the wall action and shit like that, I'm sure.
It's going to be like horror show, but certainly not Kubrick horror show. Mostly just retarded. Yeah,
that's what I was figuring.
But
anyway,
we'll see.
Yeah, enough about Suicide Squad.
Green Arrow sells 90K plus copies.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting because I didn't really see a lot of buzz about it initially.
Did you get that one?
I didn't, no.
Okay.
I wanted to, and I asked Gabby if there were any copies. She said they were sold out. She tried to get me one, but no dice yet. So I'm thinking I'll probably just wait for the trade, kind of like Vision from Marvel.
Right. Well, I did, and I just finished so there's the Rebirth one-shot, and then there's the first issue of the series that starts.
Right.
Somebody made a comment that when we talk about characters, we sometimes don't say who they are, especially if you've never heard of it. So I'm going to read a paragraph about the Green Arrow. Okay. So the Green Arrow is a vigilante superhero who fights crime using archery, martial arts, and technology. In his secret identity, he is Oliver Queen, living in Star City as a wealthy playboy and billionaire industrialist turned outspoken, socially progressive politician. He is leader of Team Arrow. He also has been a member of the Justice League and the Outsiders. So his shtick is that he was a big fan of Robin Hood when he was a kid.
That's why he looks like Robin Hood,
I guess. And then he got like super rich and was like basically a Tony Stark but much more retarded. And he was on he was on his boat in the middle of the ocean and it wrecked or whatever. He fell off of it. And he had this he had one of his I think it might have been like a movie proper. He had a bow with him anyway, like a Robin Hood token bow that he washed ashore on this island with, and he taught himself archery and how to survive, and he was there for a while, like I think a couple of years, and then he comes back this changed man. So I mean that's him in a nutshell. It's not very deep, I guess. But
yeah, he looks like the old school Robin Hood from the movie, the very first black and white one. I can't think of the actor's name who played him.
Well, right now he's got a Men in Tights look going on. He's got like a goatee.
Well, right, but that was paying tribute to the original.
Was it?
That's not unique to that Mel Brooks movie.
Well, the issue itself, I was talking with one of the other dudes on Twitter, podcast guys on Twitter, who hated the Green Arrow issue, and he asked me what my favorite Rebirth issue so far that I had read was, and I said it was the Green Arrow because out of all of them it was the most, I guess, gritty, because it deals like with human trafficking specifically, and like a secret underground organization that's like funneling in all these people and auctioning them off. It's like the classic, all these rich guys are huddled like on TV screens and someone's holding an auction,
so it's
for
like Taken.
People. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and then that's a real social issue. So
totally
pretty interesting.
And then in the most recent issue, he discovers that it's actually the shipping containers that are carrying people have his company logo on it.
Oh, damn.
So, and then like at the spoiler. So what? At the end of the last issue, he's like dying, right? He's been pumped full of arrows, and the next issue is called "The Death of Oliver Queen."
Oh, dang.
So it just got dark super fast, and I thought it was awesome.
That sounds good.
Maybe people latched onto that. I have no idea. Maybe it was just a statistic that shot by the screen, and we saw it.
Okay.
But I thought it was all right.
So it sounds like it was deserving of 90K plus sellout.
I thought so, and I'm not a diehard Green Arrow fan. I think the only few issues I've read was his last bit in the New 52 run, and shocker, he's like almost dying again. And it actually wasn't that bad. I enjoyed it. I was surprised. I didn't think I would. And there's way more diehard like Wonder Woman fans than Green Arrow fans, and Wonder Woman is boring as shit for me. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I can't imagine why you would buy that.
Well, I had to try.
Oh.
But I skipped over it for the Rebirth stuff. I just didn't even. I tried it and for the New 52, and then I was out.
You're
That's
funny.
enough.
You're all I had to try. I don't have to try usually.
Grizzly Shark is over. That's a bummer.
Sorry, it makes me so sick to my stomach to think about. I even went online this afternoon to double check to make sure that I wasn't lying when I read that, and I read it a couple of places that it was that the final the Grizzly Shark versus Sea Bear was the final issue.
And that's a bummer because it was really awesome, but I can see like how far are they honestly going to go with that.
And that's what we said early on when we read like the first issue. It's like, This is a lot of fun, but this can't go on for very long.
No. I think they took it as far as they could.
And they even kind of lost momentum in the last issue, to be totally honest. I mean, it was fun, but it definitely did not have the humor nor the just cleverness of the first two issues. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I was hoping for a little bit more.
I will. My God. They can turn it off if they haven't read it already.
Okay, here's your chance, folks.
As soon as they use the zombie baby as bait on like that branch, and then they go through a part where they start introducing the sea bear, it was all pretty much downhill from there.
And the sea bear fucking gets stomped out by by the grizzly shark. I don't think so.
I'm looking at
what bear gets its ass whooped by anything? Does anybody? Do you hear about anything kicking a bear's ass?
Not really.
No. I'm like, come on.
I mean, if it's a shark in the forest, it's gonna be weird. I mean, I like this one part. They're on the beach and they're fighting, and the shark like throws sand in the bear's eyes, like with his fin. And that was just so great. So, I mean, yeah, sad to see it over, but it was time, I suppose.
And I loved it. It was great. I look forward to pulling it back out in a couple of years, and if we're still doing this in a few years, it'll be a pull from the long box, and we'll be
sure.
Oh man, Grizzly Shark.
Oh yeah, that was the shit.
Yep. So it is the shit, folks. Go out and get it. And
did you look up anything else that guy's written?
I didn't. How about you?
Ryan Otley. No, I didn't.
I didn't even think about that. I should have.
We should. All right. Other than that, I haven't really noticed any other news happening around.
No, nothing noteworthy. Lots of talk about all of the Rebirth issues, but nothing stands out as being dominant any more than any other topic.
Do you want to talk about Batman?
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about Batman.
Let's just say, let's just do it. So,
Tom
Batman
King's a fucking pimp.
Oh, dude. So, Batman, Rebirth, the one shot. What'd you think of the one shot? Let's do that first.
I thought the one shot was good. It laid a good foundation for what the series looks like it's going to be doing. But I wasn't in love with it. It wasn't a page turner. It didn't leave me on the edge of my seat, or I didn't find it really in any other way compelling, but I did enjoy it. And I thought that it did a good job, like I said, laying the foundation for number one. You?
I wish that in that first one shot they would have mentioned what they mentioned at the end of number one, which was that those new people.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like the Calendar Man stuff, he was the villain in the one shot. What the hell was that? That just did nothing for me. It was like big rubbery one the whole time.
And I wonder if that was like one of those ones where they wrote that story and got it pressed, and then they changed their mind before issue number one.
Yeah,
because it didn't really make any sense. It didn't line up, and those two that showed up at the end of number one, I actually was like, "Holy shit!"
Oh, totally.
And my wife was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing. I held my hand out and pointed at the last page of that issue, and she was like, "That good, huh?" Or something like that, and not even kidding. It literally was that good of an issue that last page kind of blew my mind.
Some of the issues of the Vision are like that too, where it's like just one thing that's kind of happening, and you finish it, and if you had to break down the events of the book, there's like maybe 2 or 3, but it didn't feel like that. It just felt like a ride the whole time. And I think Tom King does that so awesome. He used to be a CIA agent, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's got a really interesting history in the comic book world.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was just a really good, fast-paced issue. He used the panels well, you know. I didn't feel like there was wasted space or anything was dragged out. It was just bam, bam, bam. Everything just flowed really well.
It was good. It was like, it was Batman being... A lot of the times Batman seems like a gimmicky hero, right? He's like, oh, he has all these toys and whatever.
Right.
But dude was like, launched himself off a bridge, got on top of a plane, took control of it, like with thrusters and shit. And it was just insane. And then at the very end, the part that made me go like, oh crap, is he like had this realization that he was going to die.
Yeah, but right. He was willing to do that.
Didn't think twice, right? Just went through the list with Alfred of what the hell he had to do when he was dead. That was
exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, that's Batman, man. That's a hero right there.
And that's his city. He's willing to lay down and die right there. He was ready.
Yeah. And then those, what did they call themselves? Mr. Gotham or something?
Mr. and Miss Gotham.
Oh yeah.
So like, who the fuck are these guys?
You can just see like, it's just churning in your head, right? Like, oh my god, the conflicts that are going to happen here. What the hell is this? And then there's the forgettable black guy who's like the new Robin.
Or whatever. His name is Duke.
Oh, Duke, okay.
No, I think he's going to be cool. I think...
You think so?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a good feeling about him.
He had some parts at the end of the last Batman run in the New 52.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I think he was a bigger part of it there.
Okay.
But I didn't read enough of it to know. I only read, like, the last 3 issues, which were great. So whoever... I forget who was doing Batman then, but they moved on to another Bat project. But there should be an awesome Batman shit over the next year.
Definitely. So how about we get into the main topic?
Oh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our program's main feature, made possible by...
I'm going to save the ad I made for later, and I'm going to play your epic introduction to the Punisher.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
When mobsters slew his family, Frank Castle vowed to spend the rest of his life avenging them. Trained as a Marine and equipped with a state-of-the-art arsenal, he now wages a one-man war on crime. He is the Punisher.
Oh, it keeps going, dude.
The guilty will be punished.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, you like that?
That's good stuff.
Dude, I was just listening to it and Debbie Does Dallas just over and over. I had like a full erection and goosebumps the whole time.
That's good stuff. That's good work.
All right. So, I know we talked a little bit about how we wanted to go about this, but do you have a piece you want to say about Frank? Just like who he is or where he started, or where do you want to start with this?
Well, for people who don't know about Frank, he was ex-Marine. His family was killed by mobsters. He's kind of that vigilante that I think everybody can kind of see a little bit of themselves in. If they were in his situation, that thirst for vengeance if somebody killed your family or harmed them.
Yeah.
However, he's taken kind of a psychopathic serial killer turn over the last probably almost 2 decades now, and he's got it's less about vengeance at this point and more about, I think he's just used to killing people.
Well, let me stop you right there for a second. So, Punisher was originally created in what, 74, right?
Right.
By
Amazing Spider-Man
129.
Right.
And that was Jerry Conway's version.
Right.
So, from what you just said, he wasn't as psycho back then?
No, I don't think he was less psycho. I think that his psychology maybe wasn't as defined back then. The character didn't have as much depth. I don't feel like until the 2000 series with Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Frank Castle really established depth to character. I feel like in the early Punishers, he was just kind of a soldier of fortune. Nothing really special about him. I mean, I read back through some of the old 80s, or maybe it was early 90s, Punisher Warzone. And there was just not a lot there in terms of Frank Castle. There's definitely the Punisher, but in terms of analyzing his psychology or understanding what made Frank Castle, it really wasn't that obvious in that series.
Well, I went and read an interview with Jerry Conway, excuse me, where he talks about the Punisher, and he says that the Punisher is the worst impulse of the superhero.
Yeah, I can understand why he would say that. Okay.
I suppose, like, if you take, like, Batman and Superman, they have, like, codes, right? They don't kill people.
And exactly. And then think of the term hero, right?
Yeah.
The Punisher, he shoots first and asks questions later. He kills people. He's not a superhero. There's nothing super about Frank Castle. He's an excellent soldier. He's a trained killer, but there's nothing special about him in terms of as it relates to applying the term superhero to him.
Right. He's not like a metahuman or anything like that. He's just a dude.
Right. And his fight at this point is not for humanity. It's not for vengeance. It's just because Frank Castle likes killing people. So he's not a superhero. He's just not an antagonist in the Marvel universe. You know what I mean? He's still a good guy. I'm doing those air quotes with my fingers.
Okay.
He's still a good guy, despite really not being that good of a guy when it comes down to it, you know?
So, I mean, obviously, a lot of people, like, let's take Batman, for instance. His parents were killed, and Frank is kind of in a similar situation where it's not like he's ever going to, like, the quest is never going to end, right? He's always going to find new people to murder and new bad guys. Right. So, I suppose when you talked about his psycho parts being something that we can all identify with, is that why people keep reading it and why they're still so interested in him? It's certainly not because they're thinking, oh, he's going to find those guys who killed his family. Is it?
No, I don't think anybody's holding out for this epic finish where Frank Castle ends his war, because he's already killed the people that killed his family.
Okay, so he actually does that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know when that happened?
I don't.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost train of thought. No, we're gonna have to.
It's okay. We can chop anything out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut that. Oh, sorry. Why people still read him?
Yeah.
The reason people still read Frank Castle, though, I think, is because they enjoy that soldier of fortune, kicking ass, taking names kind of character. The Punisher is a bit timeless in that regard because there's not a lot of characters, or there's no other character really like him in the Marvel Universe, except maybe at this point there is Deadpool and a few others, so I guess that it wasn't fair to
I
say.
don't know. Well, Deadpool's in his own category.
But
think they can be in
Frank
separate
Castle's
ones.
just a man with a lot of guns that's a good soldier. So there's nobody really like him other than maybe Nick Fury that's as good of a soldier.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy. He doesn't kill people.
So you have the Punisher created in 1974, and do you know how long Conway wrote the Punisher before it was like taken over by like the Ennis run?
I don't, but Ennis didn't come around until 2000.
Okay.
So there were several people that wrote.
So nobody really gave a dick about the Punisher.
I don't think
you obviously did.
Well, yeah,
he was
I
like your
the
guy.
Punisher. But
Well, let me ask you that though. Like, when you were young and you discovered the Punisher, like what was that experience? What did you read? What was it that made you go, "This is awesome"?
It was Punisher Warzone, and I don't remember which issue. I just remember it being Punisher Warzone, and it was just this guy with all these guns and this big skull on his chest, and he's just killing bad guys left and right, and not giving a fuck about collateral damage or anything like that. And being a young kid and liking guns and action movies, Frank Castle was like, he just called out to me. Right. Yeah, there was nothing particularly intriguing about his story, but he just kicked ass and took names, and as a young kid, I appreciated that, I guess.
Well, you've obviously read way more Punisher than I have, so I went and picked up, like, I don't know, like 5 sporadic issues, and one of them I picked up was the Punisher Warzone 27. And in this particular issue, Frank has been taken captive to like a sugar plantation, and he like has to like chop down all the sugar cane all day, and he has like, they give him like a giant machete, and then for some reason he's stuck there, but somebody's gonna rescue him. And it was my first introduction to the Micro character. Is his name Micro?
Microchip.
Oh, Microchip. Can you tell us who that is and how he relates to the Punisher?
Microchip is like this hacker that hangs out with Frank, and there's some issues where him and Frank seem to have like a legitimate friendship, like where Microchip seems to kind of keep Frank grounded. And then there have been some times where Frank has said some shit to Microchip that was like kind of not fatherly, but you could definitely tell that their relationship transcended just like a business relationship.
Right.
But yeah, he's a hacker, kind of jack of all trades.
And it's funny because the Punisher Warzone movie, Microchip is played by the Jurassic Park guy.
Yeah, of course it is.
I didn't even know that. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. What's his name? I mean, everyone's going to know him as Newman.
I don't even know his name.
What the hell was his name? Whatever.
That dude.
He's what do they call that? A character actor?
He is definitely a character actor.
So we've got some stuff here, first appearances, whatever. Let's talk about some notable storylines, and I think we can talk about the Ennis run, unless there's one you want to start with before that.
No, I think Ennis is really the best starting point.
So you gave me 12 issues to read from it, and I'm assuming it's more than 12, right? It's like a ton.
No, that one is 12 issues. The initial Ennis Dillon run is 12 issues.
Okay, so I got the whole first package.
Yeah, I intentionally.
Okay. So I start reading it, and I'm just coming off volume 1 of Preacher, right? So I'm having to wash all this Preacher from my mind, even though this is like, it almost looks and reads exactly like a watered down version of Preacher.
Right.
And now that I'm looking at Preacher, I see why. I didn't know Dillon was also the illustrator.
Here's something else funny.
Sure.
The current run with Becky Cloonan, Dylan
That's the
is,
one that's out right now.
yeah, Dylan is the
Okay.
artist again.
Oh, his art looks so much different now.
I know. I was wondering if that direction comes from somebody else because he certainly changed.
I mean, it changed, but now that I just picked it up, and now that I'm looking through it, like, I'm looking at the way the faces are drawn, and yeah, I totally see it. That's all Dylan stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's mostly the coloring and stuff that's changed it.
I could see that. The shadowing or something.
Oh yeah, the shadowing, certainly. So it's 12 issues. It was awesome, and I highly suggest anybody read it. I'm sure it's available in like a trade, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is there a name for it? Just Punisher Volume 1 or something?
Shit. Yeah,
Or
there's a name.
Does it have a
for
special name? Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
I can Google it real quick. So, let me get my question here. So when I went and back and watched like the movies, for instance, and even the TV show, you haven't seen the Daredevil stuff, right? Season 2.
No, I haven't watched it.
So there's a bit in the Ennis Dillon run where it's book 3, and it has a scene with Daredevil and Frank on the roof, and Frank has taped a gun to Daredevil's hand and says to tell him and tells him to shoot him, right?
Right.
So they used that entire scene in the Daredevil season 2, and that was the first time that you really got to experience the different philosophies, right? Because Matt Murdock is chained to this pole or whatever, and he's babbling on about justice and the law, and Frank is just like spewing his crap about him wanting to kill people instead, and that the law is not working. But they used that entire bit from the Ennis run to do that, and I just thought that was awesome.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
So
because that's the best Punisher. I mean, thanks Gary Conway for creating the character, but I feel like that character belongs to Garth Ennis.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Well, Conway created the character. It wasn't supposed to last, right? He got attached to it.
Yeah.
As he was creating it. It was just like I don't want to say like a henchman, but just like a silly little companion bad guy.
Right. It wasn't supposed to be... There was never supposed to be the Punisher comic.
Right. So, what was your favorite part of the Ennis run? Those 12 issues.
Oh, my favorite part. Nothing in particular stands out. Other than the fact that I feel like it, like I said, it gave depth to the character just in general. And it kind of reinvigorated the whole franchise, in my opinion. Because it saw a slump in the 90s that it just wasn't doing too well, and I'm not sure why that was. Maybe because there was no depth to the character; it was just violence.
Right.
But Garth Ennis, he relaunched this character and gave him solid backstory, emotion, and just a more interesting Frank Castle.
So there's a trio of people, right? There's this vigilante group that says they're inspired by Frank,
right?
And they start killing people too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that really did much for the overall story. What do you think the purpose was of having them in there? It felt a lot like filler.
Well, it's hard to say. It very well could have been filler. It could have been.
Did they ever expand on that later? That you know of?
Not that I can remember. The later Ennis run that was like 60 issues is more fuzzy to me, just because it's been years and years since I read that, and
yeah,
those were some of the comics that were lost when I moved.
You moved.
Yeah.
Right. Did you have those as floppies or trades?
I had them as floppies.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I had the first 12 Ennis as floppies and a trade, but I had the other ones as floppies.
Well, I have a question here of where should a person interested in the Punisher start reading? And I think the Ennis run is exactly it.
Yeah, I feel like we already answered that.
Because, I mean, people who are going to be interested in the Punisher have probably maybe seen one of the movies, and they've certainly probably seen the Daredevil stuff if they're just coming into it. And they're going to be able to tie in all of those experiences, because even the movies touch on a lot of stuff in the Ennis run.
They do, especially the first one with, what's his name? Thomas Jane.
Right.
That one was like
almost that's the second one. Right?
Oh,
the
right.
First, the
yes,
first
of
one
course.
was 89 or whatever.
Right, with Dolph Lundgren. My apologies.
Right. But yeah, the Thomas Jane one
from 2004
is the one that's the most etched into my brain, and come to discover it's actually the worst.
That's what they say.
Out of all of them. But the apartment with the 3 characters in there, all of that stuff being touched on. I mean, it was cool. I liked it a lot.
I haven't watched the Dolph Lundgren one in a few years, like I said, but
I downloaded it and I skipped through it. I mean, in the beginning, he's like, it's a religious thing, it seems, right? He's like, he feels like he's asking like God or whatever why these people are out there, and it's like inside of him to be the Punisher.
That's weird. The other two
he's
are
like
good, though.
naked. He's like naked in some underground area. It was weird.
The other two are fun though. I enjoy them. They're not great movies by any stretch, but I enjoy the comics. I enjoy the movies. I have them both on Blu-ray.
The what was the last one? Warzone.
Warzone, yeah. That one was ultra violent, and it was just insane.
What was I doing? I was watching that and finishing up the Ennis run, and I got this idea in my head to make a list of my favorite Punisher kills.
Oh, nice. I'd like to hear those.
So, well, the one that inspired the list was in the Punisher, the Ennis Dillon run, book 4. Frank picks up a guy and holds his head inside of a piranha tank, and he just holds him there till they eat him. And I was like, oh man, that is brutal. And then in the Warzone movie, there's like all these lackeys doing like parkour off of a roof or whatever, and one guy does like a side jump, and you just see this rocket just instantly turn him into like this red mist. And there's just like Frank is just sitting there with like a spent RPG tube. He's like, yeah, that's what's up.
That's hilarious.
Like, good God, dude, that is so fucked. And then the last one I had was one of the Punisher issues I picked up was called the Red Xmas.
Yeah, you told me you picked something up like that.
And this was a Marvel Knights one shot.
Nice.
And Marvel Knights, now, is that the same as their Max offshoot?
I think that's what it became, yeah.
Okay. So let's just talk about how that works for a minute. So you have these publishers, right? Marvel and DC.
Right.
And their mainstream stuff can't really do anything too crazy.
No adult content.
Right. So they've developed these, like, I don't know what you call them, imprints, right?
They actually are called imprints, yes.
Okay.
Like DC has Vertigo.
Right. Which is where they put the comic books for adults.
Exactly.
Not like X-rated stuff.
No.
More violent stuff.
And maybe profanity.
Yeah.
Just probably your R-rated comic books, realistically.
Yeah. So this was a Marvel Knights one, and it's during Christmas. And Frank is dressed as Santa Claus outside with like one of those bells and those collection buckets, you know, that you
like
see
Salvation
all the time.
Army guy?
Exactly like the Salvation Army guy. And he's outside this expensive hotel, and these mobsters come out, and he just full Santa suit busts open his coat and just, whirlwind machine guns everybody down.
Just wastes them.
Oh, dude, it was awesome.
Oh, that's
And
great.
then at the very end of the book, he corners like the people who were running everything, and he threatens to kill them all. And he says, "There's a Santa Claus outside this specific place. Go give him a ton of money." And in the last panel, you just see like Frank's eyes ringing the bell with a fake beard on, and they're all out there just giving money to him.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so perfect. I loved it. So, Punisher inside the comic books. Let's talk about the current stuff that's happening.
Okay.
So they just started a new Punisher run that we talked about a minute ago. It's got Dylan and Cloonan, and what is Martin's role in there?
I don't know. Let me see if it... I got an issue right here. Let me look.
So if you're going into a comic store today and you're like, hey, what's the Punisher doing? This is what you're going to encounter. This is like, I don't even know what volume this is. I think it's like volume 6 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah, it's got to be, I would say probably 6. It looks like Frank Martin is the colorist for anybody interested.
And so they've got this Punisher run, which is 2 issues deep right now, but they also have this short series they've got going on called the Daredevil Punisher, which is what people coming in from the Netflix series are going to pick up first, probably. Most
likely. They're familiar with both properties, and that's familiar territory in general, especially if you're not really a big comic reader.
And in both of them, not so much in the last one, when they're drawing Frank, he looks totally African American, and that kind of threw me off because he didn't look like a white guy at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I was surprised to see that because he's historically been a white character, but I thought it was kind of funny. This last issue, I thought he kind of looked like Dwayne Johnson. I thought maybe they were like setting it up for like the next movie starring Dwayne Johnson.
He just signed on to play, oh my god,
everybody in every movie ever.
Oh, yeah. I love the cover, though, on this Punisher, too. It's like got the diner, but only the dye is lit up.
I know, it's awesome. That's perfect.
That's so great. I think the Daredevil Punisher book, I didn't actually go back and read it, and I can't remember hardly anything from it. It was out a while ago, so I don't think it's going to be that great.
Yeah, I thought it was just okay. I'll probably see it out because I think it's only 4 issues.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to be particularly compelling or otherwise noteworthy.
But the latest Punisher, like 2, that we just talked about the cover, like...
Yeah.
The whole issue was pretty boring. I mean, it was Frank being Frank until, like, the very last few pages where this dude, like, straps a suicide vest to, like, his kid.
Oh, I know. And how risque is that?
Man.
Like,
that's like... That was... You know, talk about Steve Rogers joining Hydra. That was just horrible.
Yeah, I actually put a note about that under that issue here on my little script thing that I wrote.
Oh, what'd you put?
I put the suicide vest on a kid is kind of risque. People don't really like when kids are harmed in movies, games, books, comics. You know, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's not socially acceptable still, and yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
People will argue that people need to get over it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that it's risky. A lot of people, they don't like it. The other thing that I thought was funny about that book, talking about the cover, you notice that parental advisory sticker on there, not for kids?
Yeah.
They put that on the front, and then inside that there's some illicit drug use. But they bleeped out the cuss words. I'm like, I'd have to flip through it and find it, but I think there was like some sort of crack smoking or something.
Oh no, there's a dude taking a hit of his drugs or whatever, like coke or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they bleeped out some profanity. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, I had a note here that was like, the fight scene that lasted like 3 pages with just sounds wasn't even that great.
No, it wasn't. And one of the other notes I put was, it's still too early to tell if this is going to be great or not.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of ho-hum at the moment.
Yeah. If I had to say right now, I mean, they kind of did the same thing with the last one, where it's like, I wrote, are they going to have a crappy comic the whole time and then throw in something crazy at the end? It's like they pulled the same shtick with the Face Guy's wall in the first issue.
They did. And I'm thinking if this issue, the third issue, is anything like this last one, I'm going to drop it.
Really? Mr. Diehard Punisher is going to stop reading?
Hey, you know what? You can be diehard.
Take no prisoners, man.
I can still read good Punisher. It's not like that disappears from existence.
That's true.
Becky Cloonan is great, but it's just not doing much for me.
One thing I wanted to bring up is I was going back to my older issues I read and learning like these little bits about what the Punisher had like throughout history. He has a van.
He does, like the A-Team.
And he also has a tracker in his neck like they use for lions. And that's how Microchip tracks him.
That's like Snake Plissken.
Who's that?
Excuse me?
Who's Snake Plissken?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Dude, I'm not. I'm serious. Who is it?
Escape from New York?
I haven't seen it.
Okay,
or
well,
read
add
it
that
or
to
whatever
your
it
queue.
is. Is that it's a comic?
No, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah, it's an excellent movie.
I think I've seen Escape from L.A., if that counts.
Oh, that's Snake Plissken. Well, I guess Snake Plissken didn't have a tracker in his neck, but he had a tracker.
Okay.
No, yeah, I think they did put it in his neck, actually. Yeah, they did. Anyway, yeah, you need to watch Escape from New York. Escape from L.A. is the sequel to Escape from New York.
Okay.
And it's nowhere near as good.
I didn't think so. Escape from L.A. seemed really cheesy. Who was in that?
Kurt Russell.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
No, the original is, of course, Kurt Russell, because he's Snake Plissken. But It's got Adrian Barbeau in it. Lee Van Cleef.
What year did it come out?
78, I think.
Nice.
It's good. One of my favorites. I might watch it after this.
Okay. You got it on Blu-ray?
I do.
Of course. One thing I wanted to say is the Punisher's Italian.
Oh.
In many of the issues, they call him by his other last name, which is not Castle, but Castellanos.
Oh, that's right.
And his family's from Sicily, I think.
Okay.
So in one issue I have of the War Journal, he has to escape to Sicily, and he instantly like somehow hooks up with his grandma or something, and he has to do what Frank does when he's supposed to be on like vacation.
Oh, not hooks up with his grandma.
Oh,
like in the biblical sense.
The biblical sense. It's so funny, like, and I have another issue of The Punisher from, this is volume 2, number 13. It was $1 in 1988.
Nice.
And in the middle, there's like this ad for jewelry, right? Like people are actually going to get married that are reading this thing at that time. But you can like mail in and get like diamond rings and shit.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was great.
I like all the like processed food ads that are in those, like X-Men Chef Boyardees and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And all the
Hot
ads
Pocket
for like
or Pizza Pockets.
Atari games.
Uh-huh. Like, oh man, guys, Mega Man 3's coming out this summer.
Oh yeah, the ad on the very last page of this Punisher issue is for striped Chips Ahoy. Like nobody's even seen those in years.
Let's see what the last page on this one is.
Just take a look.
This is the Punisher Warzone issue 2. Cost $1.75.
Ooh.
Looks like this is 1992. So the first issue, or the first page, is the Terminator 2 Judgment Day game for NES and Game Boy. That game sucked ass. I remember that game. Oh, the very last one was a Three Musketeers adventure. So there's 3 dudes dressed like Indiana Jones in front of like this Mayan or Aztec temple. Oh, okay. The tomb of the last Mayan king. We found it.
Nice.
These symbols say to go this way, and they're like walking down these stairwell. And this dude's like holding his torch up high, and he's like, hold your torches high, we're almost there. They bust into this tomb room, and it's like, incredible! We should take this to the museum. Another
It's
guy's
like it's a comic, right?
yeah, it's a comic. It's a giant Three Musketeers bar.
That was kind of cool that they did that, though. Like, a lot of the ads they made into comics, like the one on this last page of this Punisher War Journal I've got here, is for Super Mario shampoo. But it's got, like... Well, it's actually really creepy now that I'm looking at it. It's got, like, Mario, and there's, like, a kid naked in a bathtub.
Oh, what the hell?
And there's, like... Peach, who's also with a naked kid. Okay, that's a bit more creepy than I thought. But what some of my favorites are like, it'll be like a dog shit Game Boy game, right?
Right.
And it's like all grayscale, and you can't even see what's happening, and they're just like, oh my god, real life graphics. It's like you're there.
And they're all huddled around a single Game Boy.
Yeah. Or Game Gear, for that matter.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like Sega Master System. Oh, one of my favorites, though, was this one. It has the Bride of Chucky ad from '98.
Nice.
It's just so... That's what I love about getting those old floppy books.
The ads are the best.
And I noticed this when I was reading Forceworks. Like, I was in my living room reading Forceworks, and I'm like, you know what? Somebody in 1993 was doing this exact same sad-ass thing on a Friday night, probably with this exact book, just going through these ads, but these ads, like, appealed to them, right? They're like, oh my god, I should totally send away for, like, Muscle Enhancement magazine.
I should totally send away for my bachelor's degree in paralegal studies from the back of this comic book.
Yeah. Or, what did I encountered the, do you remember those old services they had, like, where you could pay, like, $10 and you get, like, 15 CDs?
Oh, yeah, like Columbia House.
Yeah.
And BMG. I totally remember those.
There was one of those in the back.
Nice.
It was awesome.
You should have mailed it in.
Yeah, right, dude. My mom would get so mad.
She wouldn't let you podcast in the basement anymore.
Yeah. Use my credit card for what? Or no, it wasn't a credit card. I would have had to forge a check.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay. Back to that volume 13 that housed that wonderful Mario bubble ad. The story in here involves the Punisher and like two other people that he knew from the past, but they're hunting these bad guys, and what they describe these bad guys doing pretty much paralleled the Manson murders.
Oh, wow.
Like, to the detail. It's like, yeah, dude went to this, actress's house, she was pregnant and stuff, and murdered a bunch of... It was just, like, insane. So, my question was, does that happen a lot in comic books, where they draw their storylines from, like, to that degree, from real-life events?
Oh, definitely. That's easy source material.
Yeah.
Because they just have to skew it enough to make it both relevant to the comic book reader who's just a comic book reader, and then relevant to people like us who recognize those parallels between fact and fiction.
They took this one so far, dude. Like, the main villain has carved a swastika into his, like, his forehead or whatever. Swastika on his forehead.
Sure. Like Charlie Manson.
Yeah. And I'm just like... Anybody who, I mean, how could you not draw that parallel? And are they allowed to do that? Because it was
Why
so
wouldn't
close.
they?
I don't know.
Well, think about it. How many books are written about that subject? There's no copyright on true crime.
That's true.
At least I don't think there is.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
In other news, you can get G.I. Joe action figures and vehicles with this exclusive offer.
Nice. I'm gonna go break my piggy bank and see how much change I have in there.
Smash that fucker with a hammer.
So I'm curious. I have a question for you since you read all this Punisher.
Yeah.
You weren't much of a fan going into this. Maybe not to say you weren't much of a fan. You just weren't really that familiar with the character.
I wasn't exposed to him on the comic level.
So what did you think after reading all this, are you a fan of the Punisher, or could you do without him?
You know, if I hadn't had read the NS run, and I only read like the ones I had picked up, I think I still would be. I would be, because like the actual stories that were happening, like they had substance, right? It's not like Punisher issue 2 that we just talked about, where it was like an entire book of a fight scene with
Right.
just garbage and noises. And that's a problem with comics today, and a topic for another show. But like every Punisher run, I was like, you know, I should probably just pick it up and see what the next one's happening. Except for the Sicilian Saga one from the War Journal, that was retarded. And Red Xmas was a one shot, but I would read whatever they printed after that if he was still dressed as Santa Claus
And laying waste to dudes outside.
Oh yeah. But the one I got from Volume 2 that I just talked about, where they drew the parallel to the Manson murders, was great. The one where he's being held captive on a sugar plantation is great too. And I think it's because they have multiple stories going in that, you know, late 80s, early 90s flavor.
Yeah.
Where they don't have to dedicate half the book to one thing happening. They can dedicate 2 pages to some characters and then move on to another part of the story somewhere else. And stuff like that is just really engaging. But you made a comment about the NS run giving the Punisher some depth.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that. I didn't. And I can't identify any specific part where it was like, oh, that's what's making the Punisher tick. You know, now that I think about it, the scene where he's dying and he's got like full of bullets and stuff.
Right.
And who is the girl, Joan?
Mm-hmm.
And what's his face is getting tortured. That part gave you a little bit of insight into, you know, just what his will was made of. Because the whole time he's like, it's just basically it. This is the last run. But he somehow gets up and saves the guy while he's almost dead. So that gave it some depth. When he went to the church at the end and took care of the vigilantes and said, that's not what I want, when they were trying to get him to be like the leader of their team, that said some stuff. But other than that, it just seemed like Frank being Frank most of the time.
Well, don't confuse my comment with saying like they established some super complicated character out of Frank Castle. It just gave you a little bit more depth than had previously been offered in other series. I felt. I didn't mean to suggest
so you were
established
addressing
an amazing character or anything.
You were just addressing more of the narrative,
right?
Being more. I see that certainly. I think after this week, I'm not a fan of the Punisher at all, for like at least a month. But after that, I can see myself reading it.
Yeah, even being a lifelong Punisher fan, or whatever lifelong that means, whatever that means. I need a break from the Punisher as well, because I read through Ennis's 12-issue run. I reread the Cloonan Dylan books. I read several issues of Warzone, plus a couple of random things here and there, plus a few articles about some stuff that I wasn't familiar with, and I'm not super interested in the next issue, so I'm ready for a break from the Punisher.
Well, you gotta watch that the Netflix Daredevil season 2. Season 1 was garbage. I don't care what anybody says.
No, okay.
Daredevil season 1 was just complete trash.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I couldn't make it through that series. I tried several times.
I'm not gonna lie. I probably skipped through or skipped entirely like probably 5 of the last 10 episodes. It was just too long of nothing. But I did watch like the last 3 or 4 in their entirety just so I wasn't stupid going into the next season. But season 2 just totally rocked. It was awesome.
I'll definitely check it out then.
Oh yeah.
Can you think of anything else we could say about the Punisher before we?
Yeah. The notable enemies.
Oh yes.
We got a whole bunch of stuff here. Well, not a whole bunch, but I mean, I didn't read anything with him fighting the Green Goblin, but supposedly that was a big one.
Yeah, I was having trouble finding that as well. I got that notable enemies list off of the web.
Some lackey blogger that was like, these are my favorite Punisher enemies.
No. This wasn't like on somebody's GeoCities page or anything. No, this was on like a comic book resources or some legitimate. Well, you know, whatever that means. Some sort of legitimate comic book website.
GeoCities, nice.
Their Angel Fire page.
Oh, dude, my. Did you have one back in the day?
Yeah, I had one back in the day.
My first Angel Fire page was dedicated to Laura Croft, 100%. I had wallpapers.
Yeah,
I had the Nude Raider patch available for the first Tomb Raider game, which is where you could patch it and she'd be naked.
Yeah, I think I remember that actually.
Dude, that was legit. Okay, so Jigsaw, was he part of the comics or was he only in that Punisher Warzone movie from 2008?
No, he was in the comics.
Okay.
I can't remember which series, but he was definitely, I want to say it was in one of the Ennis, maybe the big Ennis run. I can't remember exactly, but I definitely remember him being in the comics.
I loved the way they set that up in the movie. And if you haven't seen the movie, well, I don't know if I can specifically recommend it, but I mean, if you're into like, it's not even that cheesy. It's just super violent. But Jigsaw starts out as a normal looking guy who's obsessed with his looks, and Frank throws him in a recycling plant, like glass bottle crusher.
Yep.
And he gets his like entire face, and somehow just the face and not the rest of his body, somehow, is the only thing that's affected here. Gets like chopped to hell, and he gets all stitched back together with like horsehide and like some weird stuff. And he takes on the moniker of Jigsaw, and he just looks heinous. And every time his crazy brother like touches him, I'm just like, ooh, I don't think you want to be handling that guy.
No, definitely not. He looks like he went through a meat grinder.
It was horrible. But other than that, I mean, the only other... Does he ever encounter the Russian? I guess the Russian's dead now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So Ennis probably created the Russian and then killed him promptly.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Russian appeared in the movie from 2004.
He did.
With Thomas Jane.
Right.
So as soon as I saw the Russian come up, I like instantly connected. I was like, okay, I see that.
Yeah, they did a nice job. They stayed pretty good to source material.
Bullseye, I have no idea who that is.
Mm-mm.
And then John Travolta.
That was a joke.
Oh.
That's why I put that. Like I didn't know you were gonna read the list. Like
what was John Travolta's name in that movie? Did he have like a special name?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
I just remember him being like super over the top, mobster screamy.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I love like one of the last scenes in the 2004 movie, like when he's blowing up the car parking lot or whatever. I thought that was just awesome.
He's just not a good actor anymore.
I can't even remember what he was in before that. Later he went on to do like some series that started with an H. I can't remember the name of. You know what he reminded me of is do you remember the old movie The Fortress?
No.
Do you remember like Mortal Kombat, the first movie?
Yeah, of course.
The guy who played Raiden, what's his name?
I don't have a clue, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's who Thomas Jane reminds me of.
Oh, interesting.
He's like super popular actor though.
Oh,
like,
Thomas Jane went on to do Hung.
Oh yeah. I think I watched like 2 episodes of that and checked out.
Yeah, it It had a lot to do with his dick, I think. So I was like, no, I'm good.
He was like a gigolo.
Yeah, my wife watched that like back in the day.
I don't think I have anything else to say about Frank Castle.
Me either.
Other than he has a preferred weapon, I'm gonna guess is like an Uzi or a Mac-10 or something, right?
He likes the Uzi. He also likes the H&K MP5, which he like outfits with a ton of crazy stuff, like a as they would call it, a banana clip style magazine.
That's like
with a silencer. Taped. Yeah, totally. And he calls it the Heckler because the company that make it is H&K, which is Heckler and something. I can't pronounce it. I'm not German.
It's Koch or Cooch.
Oh,
Would you say Cooch?
I don't know because it's German and they pronounce things differently, so I don't try. But H&K. Yeah, I would say that or the Uzi are his weapons of choice.
I know like 3 German words.
Nice.
Like Kielbasa. Does that count?
Maybe
that's not even German.
Polish.
Oh shit.
I don't know. Like schnitzel.
Oh no. There was a kid in my high school, and you'll appreciate this. He was part of the ROTC program for the it must have just been the regular military army stuff. But he was like total kid jarhead, had like his head shaved all the time, would run like 4 extra miles at PE just for fun, dog tags, green shirts the whole time.
Dude, I know that. I remember that kid. Yeah, he would always wear BDUs on the bus and crap.
Yeah. I don't want to say his name, but now that I remember what his name is.
Yeah, dude, I remember him.
He always used to say this German phrase. It was, Ich habe ein Schlange.
I remember that.
Yeah, and it was like, I have one snake. And I'm just like, dude.
We used to make fun of him a bunch about wearing those BDUs on the bus.
Oh, yeah. But in PE, he would run like 4 extra miles all the time.
Yeah, he wanted to be a Marine.
He was just all about it. I wonder whatever happened to that kid.
Hopefully he got into the Marines. Because he was really working hard toward it.
He was all about it.
But it was fucking funny.
All right. Let's move on here.
Okay.
Frank Castle. He's a bad A, and I don't want to hear anything about him for a while.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about him anymore.
Let's go ahead and move on to our picks from the long box.
All right.
The old issues here, and I've got another ad I made.
All right.
It's not nearly as impressive as the others, but we'll play it anyway.
Is your piece getting rusty? Are you worried about not being able to perform? Well, friend, you can put that fear to bed because today, Castle Gun Oil is here to help. Keep your barrel properly lubed and that action smooth with our custom synthetic blend. Remember, Castle Gun Oil isn't just a lubricant, it's a lubricant in a can. Call 555-FRANK and order today.
That's awesome. Nice work.
Credit to a good friend of mine who's adamant that you should not use the word lubricant when it is an enabler, and it should be called lubricant. If he's listening to this, he knows who he is. All right. Why don't you go first here? What you got?
Okay, so my pull from the long box is not by any means anything pivotal in the comic world. However, it is Swamp Thing #0 from the New 52, 2012, written by Scott Snyder.
That's volume 5.
It is.
You know, I think Scott Snyder was writing Batman at the same time.
I think he was.
That's why Batman was so awesome.
This book was awesome. I picked this a lot up off eBay because it had been a few years since I read any Swamp Thing. Last time I read it, it was under Vertigo in the early 2000s, and so I picked up 6 issues for like nothing, like $5, I think, for the whole lot.
Right.
And this issue starts out from the perspective of Arcane, which is like this shapeshifter that's just ripping through people, killing these avatars of the green, which are like the Swamp Thing, or the people that are like, you know, the plant people.
So can I ask you about Swamp Thing?
Sure.
Okay, so Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Is Swamp Thing part human?
Oh yeah, Swamp Thing is a human. In this volume, it's Dr. Alan Holland, or rather, I'm sorry, Dr. Alec Holland.
Okay.
And what happens is I think he's at his house or something like that, where he has a lab, and Arcane shapeshifts into his wife. That's what it is. He's at his house working in the basement. His Arcane has shapeshifted into his wife, and she blows up the house.
I like where this is headed.
So he's got all these chemical burns, and there's these 3 like old trees. I think there's 3 called the Parliament of Trees and the Congress of the Swamp Things. And it's like their job to, like, I guess, govern the green avatars, and they're not sure they can save him, but it takes like several years, but they're able to resurrect him. And the story it was just fast paced. They got right down to business. Some really cool art.
So the Swamp Thing is like, he's not like a singular entity. He's like a part of a race of people.
He is.
Is that that's what I'm understanding?
Yeah, there's like more than.
So the Vertigo stuff, I mean, it must have been a little more adult, right? Like Punisher style.
Yeah, I can't remember it. I can't remember it standing out as being particularly adult. No, and I was planning to flip through it because I thought it was lost with some other stuff, but I realized when I organized my books a while back that it wasn't lost. So I've been meaning to flip back through it, just to refamiliarize myself with everything. Yeah, so pretty much
Swamp Thing, Volume 5, Issue 0.
Yep. Good issue. I pulled issue 1 out and read it right after that. I didn't write any notes about it because I wasn't planning to talk about it.
That's
but,
all right. But it carries. It carries.
Yeah, it's good. It's a page turner.
That's awesome. That's such a cliche thing to say.
I know, it totally is. That's what's funny.
It's a page turner. Okay, well, one thing, and I don't want to dive back into the Punisher too much, but I was reading that the Punisher has aged and that he's older now.
Right.
Like in a lot of the comics.
Yeah.
But Judge Dredd has aged 100% the whole time.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I forget where I was going with that. It was a good question, though. Anyway, my specific, my pick, and I took a while to figure it out. I have so much Superman and so much Batman that I didn't want to pick any of those because I didn't want you to be disappointed. But there's some awesome stuff in there. But one thing I did encounter, like, free comic book day at my local place, like they had just like racks of free comics, not just from this year but from years past, like 4 or 5 years deep. And if you spent $10, you could pull a free comic from like history.
That's awesome.
So I don't think this came out this year. I think it was a couple years ago. And you might even know of this, like there's a comic that's called The Stuff of Legend.
No, I haven't heard of that.
And like, if you take Toy Story, but you make it rated R, that's it.
Whoa.
It's kind of cool. Like, this is the only issue I have is this free comic day version. And so you have all of these toys, right? It starts off with a little boy, and his closet door is open, and these tentacles like shoot out and drag him into the darkness, right? And that's like the boogeyman, right? So I'm just going to read this real quick. The story takes place in 1944 Brooklyn. A band of toys goes on a journey into the dark realm to rescue a young boy, who is their owner, from the infamous boogeyman. In the dark realm, which is inside the boy's closet, they are changed. They become life-size, with functional weapons and, in the teddy bear's case, teeth. As they venture into the dark, they battle the boogeyman's forces, composed of mostly bitter, lost toys, fallen under the fearful powers of the Dark Master.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I hadn't even heard of this before, and it actually sat at the bottom of my pile for the longest time, because it's got a teddy bear on it and like a freaky looking toys, and I was like, whatever. But it actually turned out to be very fucking cool. And like, even like there's like a toy soldier that's like rallying like the troops to go inside the closet, right? And just like the way he's handling that, dude, it's like watching a speech from Patton, you know?
Oh, it's awesome.
The old school Stars and Stripes thing. And it was just so good. And it's old. It's from 2009. And there's a whole bunch of volumes. I don't know exactly how much there is. I don't know anything except this one, but I wanted to bring it to the attention of the world because it's so cool. And I haven't picked any more up yet, but I will be.
Nice.
It's called The Stuff of Legend. It's by Third World Studios now.
Well, maybe you can tell us about it at a later show when you've read some more.
Oh yeah, dude, that would be awesome.
I'll know how Swamp Thing kills people or fights by that point because I'm a little out of it in the Swamp Thing game.
He just turned his cock into a giant
tree and like
sprig of broccoli. I was gonna go sprig of broccoli. God, tree, savage.
He just like rips through small villages and livestock.
It's just like a giant shish kebab.
Exactly.
The only other issue that I wanted to pick up or talk about was 4 Kids. Did you want to talk about that for a minute?
No, I didn't. That book sucks.
What?
No, just
Shut
kidding.
up.
Yeah, 4 Kids. I definitely want to talk about that book because that's our new Grizzly Shark. I think
it has to be,
even though it's not anything like Grizzly Shark other than fucking awesome.
Well, what is it about? Give us the elevator pitch.
4 Kids.
Yeah.
4 Kids. It's a crime caper.
Well, 4 Kids walk into a bank. It's the whole title.
Well,
right?
yeah, 4 Kids walk into a bank. It's a crime book. Looks like they're going to do 5 parts. You got a pretty interesting group of kids. They start out playing Dungeons and Dragons. And they got some pretty interesting names for their characters, including an orc named Crotch the Sticky.
Yeah.
Son of Groin the Moist. Grandson of Lumps. And there's just some funny dialogue between these kids who kind of start out with just dealing with typical stuff that kids their age deal with. And then running into some questionable characters. And I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, why not?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
I'm going to say there's a skinhead.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like this 12-year-old girl, right? She's like the leader of the kids, I guess, if there had to be one.
Yeah, I would say so.
She straight up gets punched in the face by like this thug.
She does, like, but she's the only one with any sort of stones, man. She's the only one who's going to stand up against those thugs. Everybody else is like hiding behind her.
I just love this one panel. It's like reminder under almost no circumstances is it okay to wander into someone's house uninvited and sucker punch a kid in the face. Almost.
But then you look over and there for some reason there's a random little piece of the Son of Groin the Moist about to get launched in the face of one of the thugs.
Because he's got like one of the Burger. He's like the. He's a Jewish kid.
Definitely.
Who's like not supposed to be there and like kind of retarded. And it was just so good. And at the very end, it's got this cliffhanger where like these thugs break in and they're trying to find their dad. And then at the very end, the dad is like having lunch with them, right?
Right, after he'd already pulled a shotgun on them like 6 or 7 pages before that.
Yeah. So it's just like, I just can't wait to see where this is going.
And the art is perfect. I don't know, there's something about this book. This book just feels good to read. Like, in my hands, it feels so much heavier than a standard comic book. Like,
the paper's really thick.
And who the fuck is Black Mask Studios? Like, I'd never even heard of them. I Googled them the other night, and I didn't find anything in there that I recognized, like, from them.
I think they have one other book out right now. That's getting popular, but I can't remember what it is.
It's good stuff though. People need to go out and check out 4 Kids Walk into a Bank. The first issue was sold out a lot of places. It's kind of small.
It took me a long time to get the first issue.
I had to get it from Midtown. I
forget what I was doing. I I ordered it off eBay.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I paid a guy like $10 in Vegas to ship it.
Yep.
And he said he only had like 10 left.
It's good. Go check that out, folks. If you liked Grizzly Shark following our last recommendation, I think you'll like Four Kids Walk Into a Bank.
I love it when they're like what is it, like ham radios? They're on like the CB.
Dude, but
talking to each other.
It was so long, like
it was
started to grind
it was
on
funny.
me. Yeah, it was funny, but it started to grind on me after a point. But I'm stoked for the next issue.
That's gonna be sweet if it ever comes out.
Yeah, I know, since it's been delayed.
I don't have any official word on that, but I just keep seeing release dates and then it like fucking not happening.
Well, I told you Comixology has issue 2 and 3 coming out on the same day, which is like in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but Comixology has been kind of historically giving bad dates lately.
Oh, fair enough.
It seems. Okay. I think I don't have any other issues to talk about. That was all I pulled out in the stack.
Yeah, I'm done too.
All right, it's getting late. I think we're done.
Yep.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. We will be diving into the different ages of comic books, and I'm just going to read a quick paragraph here. Comic historians divide the history of American comic books into ages. These eras include the Golden Age, 1938 to 1950, the Silver Age, 1956 to 1970, the Bronze Age, 1970 to 1985, and the Modern Age, 1985 to present. So we're going to take a look at those different ages, why they are the way they are, probably pick out some issues we like, and explain, well, at least try to explain why the fuck they exist at all.
And I think we were also going to mention the Comic Codes Authority.
Yeah, I would like to. I don't know how that's going to play into the ages.
Me either, because I don't know shit about them.
I think because we're talking about like history and comic books specifically, they are like a key player because they're like
the MPAA of comics.
Yeah. So everybody has to pass gets their approval, right?
Yep.
Unless they're like indie guys, and then they're like, well, screw that.
Yeah.
Well, they just don't get the stamp.
Whatever. Who cares about that fucking stamp?
Well,
Most of the good shit doesn't have that stamp on it anyway.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, it's all DDM Comics, and we'll see you guys next time. Or are you going to say bye?
Bye. See you guys next time.
All right, that's good.